Hello, everyone. Welcome to Knights of the Round Table. I'm Luca, and this is TJ.
Hello there, everyone.
For tonight's edition, we are reviewing Donnie Darko.
Okay, Donnie Darko follows, Donnie Darko, the titular character, who just misses death after a plane engine falls into his room while he is sleeping on a golf course. He's told by a mysterious figure called Frank, who led him to the golf course in the first place, that the world is going to end soon. And for the next period of time, which I believe is roughly 2 months, he lives his life and researches various elements of time travel. All the while he's seeing various visions and his mental state starts to deteriorate. So what's your history of this movie, Luca?
I first saw a part of it on YouTube. It was a clip from a video titled Best Insults Used in Movies, and I saw Donnie and his sister Elizabeth arguing. And then I wanted to get more context on it, so I looked up the dinner scene where they argue, and saw a review of Donnie Darko by Nostalgia Critic or Channel Awesome, and I watched that video, and then I became interested in seeing the movie. So I watched it like 4 or 5 times, and I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I only watched it once. Really? Was this one of his more recent videos?
It's from 2020.
Okay, it is one of his more recent videos. Okay, this is a very interesting. I found this to be a very interesting film. So you quite enjoyed it, I would take?
Yeah, it's an intriguing story. The effects are decent looking, and it does a good job at executing elements of foreshadowing.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it as well. It's a very engrossing experience. It has a unique atmosphere. There's just a feeling of uncertainty and, for lack of a better term, angst throughout the film, which is very appropriate. And it does manage to be very tender. I think we should start with the titular character. How do you find Donnie Darko? How do you find Jake Gyllenhaal in this performance?
I think he did spectacular in this performance.
How so?
I think he is an awesome protagonist. He really put some effort into his role. Like, we see that he's struggling with mental illness, and is paranoid and desperate to find answers.
We get that. But what do you think Jake Gyllenhaal does to help convey that?
He overreacts.
Okay.
We see him acting all frantic and stuff. We see him have a bunch of outbursts throughout the film.
Yeah.
And we see during his therapy sessions that he starts to lose focus and thinks about stuff unrelated to his sessions.
And are these in the hypnosis scenes?
Yeah, like the scenes where he's at his therapy sessions.
But are they in the scenes are you referring to the scenes where he's under hypnosis in his sessions?
I'm referring to all of them.
Okay.
Like, he starts to lose focus and goes off the rails.
Okay. And I thought Jake Gyllenhaal did I think Jake Gyllenhaal really made this movie. The idea of a angsty teenager is not a new thing in the cinema. But really, Donnie does feel like a very engaging protagonist. He is very off. He is very awkward. But it is shown that he does have an emotional center. He does care for people and doesn't just want to see the world. He doesn't just want to see the world burn. And I think Gyllenhaal does a good job really showing that. He brings a tenderness to the role. He's very tender. He feels very quiet throughout most of the film and very and reserved. But it feels like he's afraid, and that's why he's really acting this way. Kind of afraid and uncertain, which is a big theme throughout the film.
Yeah, but I don't really see him as quiet.
Throughout most of the film, he's quite quiet. He's not very, like, he's not social. He's not so super inept socially, but he's not really, yeah. But he's not really trying to. Well, actually no, that's not the case. In his normal state, he doesn't really have a. He's not really that active, although he does have emotional outbursts and does go after people in his life. Usually those who are trying to, what's the word when you're talking down to somebody? Those who are being
Condescending?
very
Condescending.
yes, thank you. Those who are condescending. Also, an element I kind of like is that you don't know, you're not entirely certain whether it is when Donnie is doing something because of the influence of his visions or because that's just what he's doing by himself, which I thought was very clever and gave a nice layer of interpretation to the film.
So, what are your thoughts on Frank?
I think it's a very interesting. I found Frank to be a very interesting side character and monster. I thought the reveal of him was very good. They don't really use his bunny suit. And the costume and on that note, the costume itself does feel very effective. It is a striking visual.
Yeah.
And how do you think of a plot?
So, the plot, although confusing, was interesting and sciencey. It felt eventful and it was very engaging to me.
Yeah, I thought it worked well. As mentioned, Donnie. A big chunk of this movie does play with time travel, and an element I do like is how vague it is. It does capture that mindset of a teenager. It doesn't. We're not exactly sure what this stuff means or really how it plays together, and it just, yeah, and it is still fascinating. Also, an element I do like, you don't really need to focus on those sci-fi-esque elements to really be engaged with the story, because throughout most of the film, it is basically just Donnie going through his life and dealing with his visions. So it could just be seen as all this stuff with time travel could just be seen as himself projecting or imagining something. I don't think that really is that in the universe, but there is that element.
Did you like the pacing of the movie?
I thought it was well paced. It is a very There really is no clear plot or development. In fact, I mean there's the time travel stuff, but again, that's vague. We don't know why he is really doing these things or what's directing him. But I thought the pacing itself was handled quite well. There's a nice sense of dread. You kind of we really don't spend too much time in one place or in one plot point, which I quite enjoyed. And we really don't get a good sense of time, which I kind of like. I wouldn't call this film dreamlike, although it does feel like sort of a vision. It does have a strange atmosphere to it, like you are sort of looking at something that is. I think the best way I could put it is that it's looking at something that is predetermined. The way that time speeds up and slows down, and how the camera is constantly moving, and how people occasionally appear and disappear. It feels stuck in a weird way, as well as just feeling very disorienting at parts. I'm thinking where the scenes where he's following the what do they call them? Like the paths, or just, yeah. or really the
Following
or even,
instructions from Frank.
no, like the path really from his chest, or even scenes where he does do destruction. He does where he does destroy property. Those,
Yeah.
yeah, it has an almost Lynchian feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
I also really like the color palette of the movie. This is a very blue movie at parts, which is contrasted with warmer but less saturated shades of brown and also green, which isn't so unsaturated, but it is. But all of that creates sort of a cold atmosphere.
Yeah, the color palette, in my opinion, really shapes the movie
How so?
because they give it a scary and surreal feel.
Okay. So anything else?
Yeah, another thing I'd like to mention about this movie is the appearances of many popular celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
It has Jake Gyllenhaal, Maggie, Patrick Swayze, Seth Rogen, Drew Barrymore, Jerry Trainor, and David St. James.
Seth Rogen, who did he play?
He's one of the background characters.
Huh. I don't know if this is an indie movie, but it does feel like an indie movie, so it's strange that it got a big cast.
It isn't, strangely. It isn't an indie film.
Yes. So is there any reason behind that? Why are you bringing this up?
Because I'm just fascinated by the many celebrities who appear in this movie. Like, they find these big actors.
Okay. So anything else?
I guess not. Want to get to recommendations?
Yeah. Would you recommend this movie, Luca?
I totally recommend it. You?
Yeah. I would recommend it as well. It probably needs more than one viewing. This is coming from a person who's seen it once so far. But it is a very bizarre movie that is fun to unpack and just dissect. It's very, yeah, and at the same time being a very approachable teenage drama. Okay, I'd probably give it a 7 out of the recommendation scale.
Same, I give it 7.
All right. So, should I choose the next movie?
Go for it.
Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Oh boy.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Alright, so thank you for joining me, TJ, and have a good rest of your day.
You too. Goodbye, Luca.